All right, welcome. Today, we are cracking open a secret, and it's one that's hiding in plain sight, inside something you've probably seen a million times. A single bean.
No, really, think about it. What can one little bean actually tell us? On the surface, it doesn't look like much. But locked inside its genetic code, whoa, there's a story there that is way more important than you can imagine. It might just hold
The secret to our food's future. I'm not kidding. Understanding the incredible diversity that's packed into these tiny seeds is absolutely essential for securing our global food supply. So, let's dive in, shall we?
Okay, so first things first. Why are we putting so much energy into beans, of all things, right? Well, it's because they are, and this is no exaggeration, a global superstar of the food world.
For people all over the planet, beans are one of the main sources of vegetable protein. Take a place like Brazil, they're a daily staple. And get this, an incredible 80% of their massive 3 million ton harvest comes from small family farms. So yeah, if we're serious about food security for the future, we have to improve these crops. There's no way around it. But for the scientists doing that work, it all boils down to one single critical decision.
So that word, genotypes, it's really just a fancy scientific term for the parent plants. And choosing which two beans to crossbreed, that's everything. If you get it right, you could create a genuine supercrop. But if you get it wrong, you've just wasted years of work. So to make that right choice, you've got to know exactly what you're working with from the get-go.
And that, my friends, is where the real detective work begins. What scientists did was they took 17 different bean varieties, we're talking 12 common beans and 5 cowpeas, and they just started looking for clues, all in an effort to map out their genetic diversity.
They pretty much sorted all the evidence into two main buckets. You've got your quantitative traits, that's all the stuff you can objectively measure, with tools. Think weight, size, that kind of thing. And then you have the qualitative traits, the stuff you have to describe with your eyes, like shape and color. All right, let's start with those quantitative clues. This is where the scientists literally get out the rulers and scales to gather that hard, cold data.
The scientific term for these is quantitative descriptors. A great way to think about it is like the tail of the tape for a boxer before a big fight. But, for beans. It's all about the numbers: length, width, thickness, and weight. And wow, when they started measuring, they found some huge differences.
Just look at this. This is the massive range they found in just one trait, weight. The heaviest bean variety was more than 3 times heavier than the lightest one. That is a perfect example of the incredible genetic diversity we're talking about, hiding in these seeds. For breeders, this is like opening up a huge toolbox full of different traits to work with.
But of course, numbers only tell part of the story, right? To get the full picture, you also have to look at the observable traits. All the little things that make each bean look unique. And these are called qualitative descriptors. So if the numbers were the tail of the tape, this part is more like the beauty contest. It's all about the characteristics you can see with your own eyes. Is the bean shiny or is it dull? What's its main color? Does it have a secondary color? What about its shape?
And once again, the variety was just huge. Just look at seed shape alone. This is only one of 8 visual traits they studied, and the beans fell into 3 totally distinct categories. Oblong was the most common, sure, but you also had elliptical and even round spherical beans. Every single one of these unique traits adds another layer to that bean's genetic identity.
Okay, so now we've got all this data, right? 4 measurable traits and 8 visual traits for all 17 different bean varieties. That's a lot. And the next big challenge is, well, how do you make sense of it all? How do you possibly sift through all those measurements and observations to find the patterns that actually matter? Trying to do that by hand would be, pretty much impossible. Luckily for us, scientists have a really powerful tool for exactly this kind of job. It's this amazing statistical tool called principal component analysis, or PCA for short. The best way to think of it is as a super sorter for data. You basically feed it all 12 traits for every single bean, and it automatically figures out which traits are the most important ones for telling the beans apart. Then it clusters them into these natural family groups. It's brilliant.
And the results? They were pretty remarkable. The analysis figured out that just 2 main patterns, 2 principal components, could explain a massive 58% of all the differences between all the beans. It just sliced right through the noise and found the real structure hidden in the data. And here is the absolute key takeaway. That super sorter, the PCA,
It didn't just see a bunch of random noise. No, it found a clear underlying structure. What it revealed was that these 17 bean varieties actually belong to 5 distinct genetically different groups.
So let's take a quick look at these groups. Group A, for example, it has all 5 of the cowpea varieties. So right away, that shows the analysis could easily tell the 2 main species apart. Then you have Group B, which is basically the heavyweights, all the beans with the highest scores for weight and thickness. Group C, that's the cluster of beans that shared visual traits, like having a secondary color. And then you get these really fascinating outliers, like G9, which was so unique it formed a group all by itself. How cool is that?
Okay, this is all really fascinating science, for sure. But let's zoom out for a second and connect this back to the big picture. Why does creating a detailed catalog like this actually matter for our food?
Well, it matters because this is the first and most critical step on the path to a more secure food future. Think about it. First, you have to map out and understand the diversity you already have. Once you do that, you can pinpoint the parent plants with the best traits you want to combine. And from there, you can start to breed new, improved varieties that, at the end of the day, enhance food security for all of us.
And that, ultimately, is why this work is so important. This isn't just some academic exercise. It's a practical, real-world roadmap. It gives breeders a genetic blueprint so they can select the perfect parent plants to create the crops of the future. We're talking about beans that can fight off disease, survive a changing climate, and ultimately feed more people. And it all starts with understanding the secrets hidden inside a single seed. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other blueprints for our future are just waiting to be discovered in the food we see every single day?